Hello and welcome. It is 11 o'clock. It is the 17th day of May 2021. It is foggy and cold, and I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming, the OGGM. And today I'm drinking Diet Coke. Support me, Diet Coke. I will sell out. I have no morals, and I need the money. So once again, I know I said I wouldn't, but once again, it seems like I have to talk about Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. It's like I cannot escape this topic. It's the gift that keeps on giving. I guess I'm thankful. On the other hand, it's sort of, a backwards reward because every time I talk about it, it is drawing attention to the product, which is inevitably drawing attention to Wizards of the Coast, which inevitably means more money for the Wizards of the Coast. So really the best way I could deal with the issues I have with Von Richter's Guide to Ravenloft is not talk about them. But I'm going to. And I might get a little salty here, so trigger warning. So mostly today, I want to address this comment from the writers over at Polygon in regards to their free review copy they got on Wizards of the Coast, and where they said, and I quote, Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is the biggest, best D&D book of this generation. For those of you who do not know, a generation is 20 to 35 years. So going back from May 17th, 2021, we subtract 25 years, say average 25. So we're talking, 2021 minus 25. That's 20, calculator. 21 minus 25. 1996. So between 1996 and now, Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is the biggest, best product ever made for D&D, according to Polygon. Now let's address first biggest. Biggest means most page count. Von Richter's Guide to Ravenloft comes in at about 230 pages, counting the appendix and the photocopyable pictures and the character record sheet and whatever else. So let's 230 pages. Tomb of Annihilation, my personal favorite 5th edition adventure, comes in at 260 pages. So already, no, without even trying, I have already proved that Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is not the biggest 5th edition product, or the biggest D&D product of the past 25 to 30 years. Because, if we're going to go biggest, World's Largest Dungeon would be at the top of the list. The Goodman Games reprints of Keep of the Borderlands and Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. Those products all rated around the 300 rank. Maze of the Blue Medusa, that's about 500 pages. So biggest? No, I'm sorry, it's not even close. At 230 pages, it's a medium-sized D&D product at best. World's Largest Dungeon is probably the biggest, and that came out within the past 35 years. So once again, biggest D&D product of the past generation being 25 to 35 years? No. Now, more importantly, the best D&D product to come out in the past 35 years. So that means this is better than anything that's come out from the people over at Critical Role, because you're also the people who said Critical Role as the single most biggest, best thing to happen to D&D ever. Now you're saying, no, screw you, Critical Role. Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is the best thing to happen to D&D in the past 25 to 35 years. Now, without doing any research whatsoever, just casual observation of the past 35 years of the product line and addressing every single solitary product that has been released for Dungeons & Dragons, both officially from TSR and Wizards of the Coast, and third-party product that has been released over the past 35 years, I'm going to say with some level of expertise that no, this is not the best. You don't have stats blocks for half the things in the book. Let's just start right there. Half the monsters, half the domain lords, half the things you talk about in the book don't have stat blocks. I don't know why. Is it because you assume that if you put in stat blocks, player characters are going to want to attack them? If, Buck Boop, the bald barber of Bogdarf, has a stat guide, he instantly becomes a monster. So if you included stat blocks for your domain lords and your monsters, that makes people can attack them, and you didn't include them because you don't want them to be treated as monsters. I'm not sure what the thinking is. Everything else has ever had stat blocks, including gods like Odin and Thor. So why doesn't the guys in the book have stat blocks? So just right there, saying it is the single best D&D product in the past 25 years. No, it's not. Because if nothing else, you forgot to put stat blocks for half your monsters and your dreadlords. From just going through the past, just to memory, of titles that have won awards at Gen Con and the Ennies and GameX for past 5 years alone. Not a single one of them was a Wizards of the Coast product. If we just go this year's alone, best, that would be Mark Borg and Alien the Role-Playing Game. Are the pretty much considered the best that came out in 2020. Best role-playing, best product for Dungeons & Dragons ever in the past 35 years, which means a product that surpasses the shit that Critical Role did, the product that surpasses any piece of literature that has been made for Dungeons & Dragons over the past 25 to 35 years. This surpasses all of them. This is the single best thing that has ever been written for D&D. According to you, Polygon, I say nay, sir. Nay. It is not the best thing written for D&D. It is not even close. Now, my personal preference aside of thinking, Storm King's Thunder is better, Tomb of Annihilation is better, the original Ravenloft 5e adventure is better, the OG Ravenloft, one of the best written ever, Pharaoh, one of the best written ever. What's that? That's probably the past 35 years. There are a plethora of product that has come out, both official and unofficial, for Dungeons & Dragons in the past 35 years. Now, we'll give you 20 years. We'll give you 20 years. We're going to assume that you think a generation is 20 years. Or maybe you think a generation is just 12 years. I don't know what you think a generation is, but according to the people that matter, bare minimum, 20 years. Generation is enough time for somebody to have a kid, that kid to grow up, and that kid to have a kid. Average 18 to 25 years to 30 now because of lifespans are longer, 35 years. So 20 to 35 years generation. One generation is 20 to 30 years. So somewhere in that 20-year bracket, you're saying that there's nothing that has been printed that is better than Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft for the Dungeons & Dragons products. We're talking just Dungeons & Dragons. We're not just talking role-playing games. You're talking just D&D. Both official Wizards of the Coast products, both and third-party product. This is the best ever. So everything you said about Critical Role being best, no. Fuck you, Critical Role. You're not the best anymore. This 226-page of bullshit is the best. So, yeah. No, it's not the best. It's not even close. It's not even the ballpark of the best written D&D product, official or third-party, ever. It's certainly not the biggest. It's certainly not the most interesting. There's definitely better, more interesting, more important. But how it will affect the future of the industry and the hobby, the door that has been opened by Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, that is important. Whether you like the product or you hate the product, whether you want me to continue talking about it or not, we do know that this is going to change the industry, maybe for the better, but probably for the worst, at least in relation to D&D things. I don't know what the outcome of Von Richten's Guides to our industry and our hobby and D&D and 5th edition players and the dichotomy of the relationships that have developed since 5th edition, both positive and negative. This is a door opener. This is a paradigm shift. Rarely does something come along that's, more or less normally would be considered a toss-away product, but because of the choices that Wizards of the Coast has made in regards to Von Richter's Guide, and more importantly, because of the way people are interpreting the intent of Von Richter's Guide, which is far more powerful. It doesn't really matter what Wizards of the Coast's intent was, because their intent was to make money and capitalize on Ravenloft. But the outcome, the response from that intent, a lot of it overblown, including myself, but hey, that's my job. That is what's going to be important. That's what's going to be the paradigm shift. So if your point is that this is a paradigm shifting product, yes, it's a paradigm shifting product. Is this the single most important paradigm shifting product that has come out in the past 35 years? I don't know. When did GURPS come out? When did Vampire the Masquerade come out? When did Pathfinder come out? Those are all things that shifted the paradigm in regards to Dungeons & Dragons and the Dungeons & Dragons culture community. This is another one. Is it the single most important? No. Is it the best? No. Is it the biggest? No. Is it going to change things? Yes. Yes, it is. I don't know how much. I don't know how long. I don't know if it's just going to be a quick, fast burst, and then in a couple days we're going to forget about it and focus our attention on something else, or if this is going to be the next big thing that we're talking about from years from now, where we're still like, oh, geez, wow, is it going to be bigger than Critical Role? I don't know. Anyways, just some meandering and pondering. I know I said I wouldn't keep talking about it because every time I do, I give attention to it, which means more money for Wizards of the Coast, so I guess they're winning no matter what I do. But yeah, I couldn't pass this up because bottom line, you said it's the biggest, and it's not. So yeah, 230 pages. Without even trying, I found one that was bigger. Two that was bigger. So yeah, I'm your grumpy guide to all things gaming. If you appreciate these rants of mine, let me know. If you want me to shut the fuck up, also let me know. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Help me hit 500 subs by August 4th. And more importantly, if you subscribe, I will actually pay attention to what you say. Till next time, have a great day. Stay warm. Get off my lawn.